Hey, look, I know this don't matter to nobody, but what color y'all want this thing over here? Look, we got red, we got yellow. You know what I'm saying? We got like a brighter yellow that kind of look green for y'all, but it's yellow for me. We got a light blue. We have also like a lighter blue and a lighter blue. We also have a dark blue. All right, and then kind of like a purplish color. You know what I'm saying? And I think we should go with green today, simply because we're talking about the lab. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, just let me know in the comments, because I don't know what to do with that thing back there. So any advice is welcome. In today's video, we're going to be learning how to lab. Now, labbing is an essential part of any fighting game you learn, and in this video, we're simply just going to be covering a basis at which you can go with any fighting game, if not all of them, with the same mindset, so that way you can further progress yourself and, you know, keep yourself in a good mindset when labbing. Now, with that being said, a lot of people are going to come at me and they're going to be like, but what about my combo? Listen, bro, you want to make combos? I fully support you, bro. This video is not for you. All right, so without further ado, I sort of made a guideline here just to go by 5 major points and a couple of bullets under them. And the first one is learn your training mode. Don't be afraid of the training mode. It is there to help you. All right, and with that being said, it is quite simply that. All right, the training mode exists to help you. There's no shame in going and finding out something new, or you know discovering something. It is simply here for you, and not using it is to your detriment, because you'll find more often than not your own solutions to things or character specific things that are really cool. So with that being said, the fighters menu here, we're just going to go through it really quick. Change character, very simple. You can go and change your character individually without having to go to the character select menu. Pretty fast if you get used to it. Change Z assist. This just helps you go through assist. So for example, I have 18B right here, and if I go right here and change it, it's going to be the C assist, right? Very quick method of changing the assist, especially if you want to practice with new characters. So not every game is going to be a team game, obviously, but for the sake of this video, we're just using fighters since it's the one I know. Health bar settings, pretty simple. You can go in and change the amount of health your character has. This is especially good if you've practiced one combo and you really want to see how much you can push the next one to kill. So for example, 44, 45, 47. These are all like good, you know, ratios to which to practice your combos. That way you have like a good idea of how to two-touch people or to basically just kill them, right? Training settings. Now this is a universal one. This is mostly going to pertain to system mechanics for each game. Now in fighters, if you just go right into the settings and or training mode and you just like throw out your assist, you can be like, man, I'm able to throw out these bad boys just every single time, right? Now the reason for this is simply because the training mode isn't set to like a normal cooldown for your assists. So in each game you're gonna have to go and like sort of change things, especially when it comes to meter. 7 bars is usually what fighters starts people without, or starts with when they first get in the training mode. And this is like a tragedy, especially because people like start with this and they don't like really practice their combos or like block strings or how much meter they get from stuff. They just do it and they're like, man, that's really cool. And it's like, I don't see how much meter you're getting. I don't know how much damage you're doing, stuff like that, right? So it's important to get used to the training mode settings when it comes to like system mechanics, because you want to normalize everything. That way you have like a basis at which you can play, right? Now the next thing that we're going to talk about is not the rest of the settings. It's better if you just go and like kind of fiddle with them yourselves, test everything, make sure you get acquainted with everything. But the next thing that we're going to talk about is labbing with purpose. Okay, labbing with purpose simply means that you're going to go into the training mode with an idea of what you want to achieve, right? Reflect on situations in game so you can eventually lab them, and I can simply just prove this real quick. So for example, let's say Cooler is just being a very not good friend, right? Let's give him some bar real quick. All right, and let's say he does this a lot and you get hit by this a lot, right? And you start reflecting it, right? And you're like, man, I really want to punish him for this, but I don't know how, right? And you're like, oh, I jabbed. And imagine in that game you got hit because you tried to jab, right? So what you can do is you can go back to the lab and set this simple situation up and be like, okay, what can I punish him with? Oh, I can punish him with lariat, or oh, I can do M rocket kick as well, right? But oh, I can't 2M, or oh, I can't 5H, right? Those won't reach. So the more you lab, especially in these common situations, the more you're going to feel comfortable when you're in game, and it's going to simply just become muscle memory after a while. Especially if you're losing to a specific setup and you're like, man, I'm really getting gimmicked out, and you just go and you find, oh, I can just jump out of that, or oh, I can just like jump away. You know, it's pretty. It sounds like very like, you know, very simple, but once you get the hang of it, it's really going to improve your like level of play. Now, third is a very important very important rule. So test things on yourself, because one, the dummy may not always reflect human input, and two, it's a strong way to practice with or against certain things. Okay, this is a very important rule, because the game isn't always going to take your inputs into account when it's the AI, right? So for example, in this game, let's say I do this jab in front of him, right? And he's not doing nothing, right? He can do that all day and he won't flinch, right? But let's say I set Cooler to do it, right? And I hold back, right? Oh, what we find? Vegeta is flinching, right? This is what's known as proximity guard in Dragon Ball FighterZ. And this can basically make or break certain characters' mix-up tools, simply because in Cooler's case, this move does not hit normally without proximity guard. And when it does hit, let's just say I do it on myself now. Oh, messed up. It crosses me up, right? Now this is an important thing to lab against yourself, because in every game, the game isn't going to account for human input. And for that reason, it's going to mess up certain things, or certain setups are going to be fake because, you know, you didn't know that you could jump out of it, and you try it in a real match and they jump out of it and you get smoked for it, right? So it's important to test against, you know, against yourself in your own setups and other people's setups, especially because if you're like, man, that wasn't real, but I don't know what to do against it, right? And you test it out and it's like, oh, well, what am I doing? You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you may feel stupid for not, you know, finding the solution in game, but it's the heat of the moment, and it's just something that you can reflect on later, right? So testing on yourself is one against, you know, good against yourself. It's also good against, you know, especially when you bring whatever you found in the training mode into real games, and that way, you know, oh, they got hit because they don't know that, you know, this hits against certain, you know, crouchers, or this hits against certain standing characters, and you may have the edge up on certain people who don't lab against it, right? Because you can't really lab everything in the game, but you can lab most of it, right? So the next point that we're going to talk about is 4, optimize your training settings. This is a very important rule, simply because, like I said earlier, this game starts off with 7 bars, right? And so you're gonna go in the training mode and you're like, man, I have access to all my bars, like I'm about to level 3, right? And it's just like, you can't, not in a real game, not off rip, right? Wish I could, but you can't, right? So what are some things that we can help do to optimize our training mode? So the first thing that we can do is to basically give ourselves a fair assessment as far as what meter we will have in a certain situation, right? So let's say I don't kill off of 0 bars against a person. Like, let's say I just do a combo and it doesn't do the most damage and I have 0 bars. And let's just say I don't kill off of it, right? So bump me up a bar. Let's see if I can kill off of 1 bar, right? And if I can kill off 1 bar, then at least I can put myself in a situation where I at least have 1 bar. So if I do get the hit, that way I can kill the opponent, right? So the stronger you get as a player, the more you're going to be flexible with this. You know, sometimes you'll want to be in 4 bars, sometimes you'll want to be in 3 bars. It just depends on what the situation is. Rarely will you be in 7 bars, because that's just how the nature of the game is played. In other games, you may be sitting at 3 bars, like in Street Fighter, and that's acceptable simply because, I mean, you typically do have 3 bars in that game, but it's better just to understand when and where your meter is going to be, because if you don't, then you're going to put yourself in a situation where you're ill prepared, or you don't kill the opponent. You're like, man, I thought I killed the opponent in the training mode, what happened? So another thing we can do is also to, again, check our assist cooldown, or just check any system mechanics. You know, sometimes and this is one of those where you'll accidentally like hit the Sparking Blast recovery, or like the level of it, and you're gonna put it at like permanent or something, and your combo is gonna be so long. You're like, man, I've had sparking forever, right? And it's because you had this setting on, and it's going to mess up your route when you're in game. You're not gonna be able to kill off of it. So this is just something that you can do typically to optimize your training mode in each game. Just look at the system mechanics, make sure they look okay for the situation, and that way you can come out of the training mode with a better idea of what you can do in the match, right? So the last thing that we're going to talk about is to apply what you learned. Now this has nothing to do with the training mode, it has more of what to do after you've trained, okay? So slowly incorporate what you've learned into your gameplay is pretty simple, but what I mean by this is that, let's just say you're playing a game and you've learned a mix-up, right? Let's just say you've learned this mix-up for base Vegeta, right? And let's say you don't have exactly the best combo, right? But let's say you just hit this, right? It's okay if you go into a baby shit, like just terrible combo, right? As long as you start to slowly apply these concepts, the better you're gonna get at just doing them, and slowly but surely you're gonna start, you know, fitting better combos in, right? So don't worry so much about, you know, just cramming everything into, you know, your routes at once, or your block strings, or your mix-ups, or your defense. You know, these things are going to fall into place the more that you do lab, right? And with that being said, the biggest takeaway that you can take from this video, if you haven't already, is that learn at your own pace. The lab is here for you, but it's not necessarily something that is, you know, set in stone for every person to learn at the same time. It's something that you have to basically just assess yourself. Be like, look, if I'm not making the most progress with my time in the lab, then maybe I can just take a break from the game a little bit, you know, take what I've learned, contextualize it, and come back with a fresh idea. Because coming back with a fresh idea is actually a really good idea in this game, especially because there's so much to do, right? You want to put your opponent in block stun, you want to mix them, you want to make sure that you get the best combo, have your meter on point, you know, all of these things, have your mix-ups on point. All of these things come into consideration, and you can't learn all of them at one time. It's just impossible. So whatever it, you know, takes for you to learn, I'd recommend doing that before anything else. Whether you're a slow burner, or you're very intuitive, or you're somewhere in between, just take the time, and you will slowly and surely come to terms with how you want to play the game and how you can play the game. So with that being said, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. This was a different experience for me, just trying to, you know, contextualize everything as far as the training mode goes. I know it's a little bit nerdy, but this is just to help, you know, new players and intermediate players kind of get on a better footing when it comes to labbing. So hope you guys have a great night, and thank you so much. Ooh.